Welcome back to the Wrestling Roundtable. I just mentioned Roundtable Radio at the end of the last segment, and you can share your thoughts and questions live with the panel. 347-857-4647 Tuesdays on blogtalkradio.com, simulcast on Go5 Live, and you can get that all at WrestlingRoundtable.com. Tuesdays at 11 p.m. So, rebooking the InVasion. People have been wanting us to do this fantasy booking stuff ever since the what should WCW have done after Starrcade 97 topic, and what better place? I'm sure it's going to end up a lot better than Terry Funk main eventing. What the fuck is that? But anyway, introducing to my right, which is your left, Will Vafidez, and you can see more of Will Vafidez at tldwrestling.com. Vafidez, fan of 22 years, and we're going to throw it to you first, Will. Our time frame, just so you know, is from the last Nitro on March 26, 2001. This was the first show after the WCW sale to WWF. And I'm going to use WrestleMania 18 as our maximum. You don't have to go that far, but I think that's a good cutoff point. So what would you have done with the InVasion?
Let's start right off where Shane McMahon does like a press conference kind of thing, announcing the big sale of WCW to him.
You would have done it in the ring like they did on the
No, I would have...
Something
probably,
more formal?
A little more formal than that to make it a little more serious tone. WrestleMania goes as planned. We still do the DDP angle with Undertaker because I did like that angle.
Really?
I did like the angle, but there's a twist in the end which I would have done.
There's some psychiatric tests after this show.
Yeah. I would have guys like Lance Storm and Mike Awesome win the belts to kind of get like a little more serious tone to it, where they actually win some titles and get some serious.
Like I was saying on the last show, where they could have made a lot of these guys bigger stars than they were.
I'm trying to make those smaller, the guys who weren't built enough really built. Even though Lance Storm had a lot of built to him, but he really needed like that WF on him. Vince McMahon trying to get all the heels, including Austin, to actually come out and attack WCW. So trying to give a little more like Vince is really being the heel in this case to give a little bit more WCW feel. Booker T comes out, saves WCW, like he's a big hero. He's basically going to be a face, that's what we're trying to get at. WCW brings out their championship belts, announcing them. They get a part of Raw where they get a good portion of title matches, so like good ones, like Booker T maybe versus Diamond Dallas Page, a little more serious.
Because part of our guidelines also is you can't say, I'm going to split it off as a separate entity, because that didn't happen. They've tried that, so that's not going to happen. Don't say, I'm going to give WCW a Saturday night time slot.
Yeah, exactly.
Been allowed.
Jericho would actually get a title shot for WCW. He would actually win the belt right there, which in my essence would say anybody who has a WCW title is basically a part of a brand that WCW is going to be making. So they're going to have their own brand, like think over SmackDown or whatever. Stone Cold is going to be fighting with Angle the entire, like the way it went, because I did like that angle with them. Eventually, Rock returns. Right. Eventually, I would have Booker T have the belt back again. I would just try to get Jericho over to WCW to give it some star power. The Rock would actually win the WCW title, and actually Shane kind of reveals that he has to be a part of WCW, kind of making Shane more of a heel in a way. So having The Rock be on the WCW brand show, again, to give it a little bit more star power. Back on the WWE side, Undertaker starts to get a little psychotic with this whole stalker thing. He's still mad at Paige. And he does that little heel turn. Great that he could maybe use that stalker line as being a little obsessed with it. Get a little psycho with it.
There's something you should be careful about, though, because one of the problems they ran into with the InVasion angle was first, Shane shows up, he's a face. But then DDP shows up, he's part of WCW, but he's a heel, and it didn't quite work. And I think that's because when someone, let's say like Austin leaves for the Alliance, well not really, because the effect that they were trying to recreate that didn't work was a couple years ago when someone would jump to WCW, they really would. They wouldn't be on Raw every week again and you wouldn't see them. Whereas when he joined them this time, he was again on a Raw every week. And then eventually this heel face thing, whether we like him or not, eventually they were just like, fuck it, and Shane just turned heel, and it was just a big heel thing.
The whole idea, I would have said like SummerSlam would have been like the cutoff for it, but even still, Undertaker still wants to get at him. And DDP's trying to be on their own in WCW, right? They're trying to be on their own without any Raw influence or whatever. Rock and Jericho, WCW TV, Survivor Series goes the way it is, and then NWO comes in, Ric Flair. Flair would probably buy WCW or beat Shane at Royal Rumble, get control. Vince brings in NWO, trying to destroy WCW once and for all, in which they do, and they have a big climactic ending. WrestleMania, which is where this should have been done. Stone Cold versus Hogan, Vince McMahon versus Ric Flair for that show, because I think that match was really good. Outsiders against the Hardys and the Dudleys, ECW. Rock and Booker T saving the NWO and Ric Flair for the ending of it would have definitely got some more ratings.
Well, Nash was hurt at the time, but the NWO being the ones to kill WCW once and for all, like they always were supposed to, is an interesting take on it.
I start off the night after WrestleMania 17 Big party, everybody in WF, heel, face, co-worker, cameraman, all partying. Hey, we won the war, we won the war. Then all of a sudden, WCW wrestlers come in, and agents kick the shit out of them. Just like the way InVasion started, have run-ins for
Nick Patrick.
first couple weeks, it's just nothing but run-ins. Even at the May pay-per-view, I'd have run-ins. It's revealed through all this that Shane McMahon and Bischoff are in cahoots and running WCW together. In order to save his show, Vince McMahon makes a concession and lets 4 wrestlers into the King of the Ring: Booker T, Lance Storm, Scott Steiner, and Buff Bagwell. Booker T wins by defeating Edge in the finals, and Booker T has a title shot at SummerSlam. SummerSlam is complete WCW and WF matches. Booker T beats The Rock, title versus title. Book wins by hours interference by Bischoff or Shane McMahon, or both. I have Hogan losing to Stone Cold, very first pay-per-view right there. Also, we'll start building up Chronic as a heel tag team to go through all the WF tag teams time. I have them defeating Dudley Boys in a table match in this event. Undertaker versus DDP, because I actually like the Stalker thing too. I thought it was different. It was a little different, it was nice, and it fit the times.
I'll do it different. No.
Screw you guys up. But it ends with DDP winning because Sting interferes. Scott Steiner versus Kurt Angle. 2 NCAA All-Americans go that Kurt Angle wins. The next night, well, Vince McMahon being really pissed off that Booker T is now his champion, calls out for an all-out battle. WCW versus WF. No music, no tights, no nothing. Just get your ass in the ring and let's get it out. Finally go out through a whole arena. When realizing that WF is kicking their ass, Bischoff brings out the weapon, Goldberg. Goldberg comes in, cleans house, and becomes WCW's enforcer, and starts not the same streak, but he just runs through people and no one can beat him. Next pay-per-view, I have Goldberg just kicking the shit out of Big Show. Rock vs Booker T, a rematch. Booker T wins by disqualification. Rock gets injured. Rock's off TV. Chronic again beating another tag team, being the Hardy Boys. And Kurt Angle again faces Scott Steiner in an I Quit match. Rick Steiner interferes and helps Scott Steiner win. Survivor Series, Booker T versus Kurt Angle. Steiner brothers interfere again, Booker T keeps the title. Stone Cold vs Hogan. A loser bows down and admits defeat. The other guy is greater.
This is Hogan and Austin at Survivor Series?
Yes. That's the trilogy, and it ends. Tag Team Battle Royal, Chronic wins, but it's the reintroduction of the Acolytes making their comeback. Undertaker calls out Sting, but runs into Goldberg. Goldberg kicks the shit out of him. Royal Rumble. Undertaker faces Luger, wins by disqualification because Luger comes out again and puts Undertaker in a Scorpion Deathlock. Booker T again faces Kurt Angle, and Steiner's interfere one more time. Rock returns and wins the Royal Rumble. Kurt Angle interferes in the Royal Rumble and eliminates both Steiners, and Goldberg eliminates 10 plus wrestlers until he's all alone, and Stone Cold Steve Austin comes out, and they wrestle to a standstill and both eliminated. At WrestleMania 18, I have all WF guys winning. Booker T loses to The Rock, loses the title. Stone Cold beats Goldberg. Chronic loses to APA. I have Kurt Angle bringing out a special tag team partner to face the Steiner brothers. A little early, but Brock Lesnar. 4 NCAA All-Americans in one match. I had The Undertaker facing Sting in a casket match with one kick-ass casket with a scorpion on top of it. I thought that would be a nice touch. Vince versus Shane in a hardcore match, rematch from WrestleMania 17.
Not bad. Now, another part of our guidelines were handcuffs are off. The only concession we're going to make is that the budget is there. If you want to spend the money, get the names, feel free. Will Vafides chose not to and just stuck with who was on the roster at the time, but Brando, you're up next.
I'm going to go all out. The 2-man power trip. Austin and Triple H, they're beating down leaders in the Hardys with chairs.
That's the forgotten tag team,
Oh,
by
yeah,
the way.
yeah, that is. They're beating down leaders in the Hardys with chairs, talking about how they're the most powerful people in the business. All of a sudden, WCW wrestlers surround the ring, scare them out, and that's Shane McMahon. And then Shane McMahon cuts a promo about how WCW's here. Minor run-ins here and there, WCW stars against WWF stars. Shane McMahon challenges Vince and says, hey, if you allow my guys to go into the King of the Ring, if WWF wins the King of the Ring, then we'll leave. But if we win the King of the Ring, WCW is allowed to get every other pay-per-view. So we have WCW versus WWF. The finals is Jeff Jarrett versus Kurt Angle. Stone Cold comes in to try to save the WWF, but hits Angle with the title. Jarrett wins, so now every other pay-per-view is going to be a WCW pay-per-view. SummerSlam, big 8-man tag match. Dudley Boys, Triple H and Edge against Mike Awesome, Lance Storm, Jeff Jarrett, Scott Steiner. Dudley Boys wind up turning on Triple H, 3D. WCW thinks they got a coup with the Dudley Boys. But then Lance Storm and Mike Awesome turn on the WCW guys. Paul Heyman's voice is heard. The ECW guys come in. They jump, and they're taking out both.
Is the NWO involved in this too?
Yes, yes. They're coming in later. During all this time, The Undertaker's being stalked. A hardcore title match.
Fuck out of here.
Yes.
I really am, yay.
Yes.
You couldn't even pull us off involved versus SmackDown in video games now, man.
The Undertaker is being stalked during this time, but it's not by DDP. It's by Raven. So The Undertaker is being stalked by Raven. They have a match at a pay-per-view. Then Vampiro debuts. He's on Raven's side. So this is where Kane comes in. So it's Kane the Undertaker against Raven Vampiro. They have a tag match.
It's like a dark orgy.
Yes. And then
Can Sting be the best referee?
and then the Wall debuts as their big guy. So this leads to a Buried Alive match at Halloween Havoc, Raven, Undertaker. The lights go off. Sting is shown with the bat. Sting takes out the Undertaker. They all bury the Undertaker. He's gone. That leads into the big match at WrestleMania 18. Sting Taker. Vince McMahon's going crazy because he keeps losing to WCW. Again, he gets the NWO as poison to take everybody out. He says, if WCW's not going to take me out, I'm going to take myself out and bring everybody down with me. So here comes the NWO. They try to manipulate Triple H into joining, so Triple H buddies up with Hall and Nash, but they wind up turning on Triple H.
Now the click's involved.
Now the click's involved.
Here comes the click.
This leads to Triple H bringing in Shawn Michaels. So we have DX versus NWO at WrestleMania. Goldberg comes in to try to defeat the NWO. And now at WrestleMania we have all title unification, WCW versus WWF. The winning league wins. So we have Austin Goldberg, Rock Hogan, NWO, DX, Sting, Undertaker. There's some other there's some other matches. Kurt Angle, Scott Steiner.
Jesus
And,
Christ, it's hard to top.
So at the end, Austin beats Goldberg, 3 stunners. All the WWF guys come, celebrate. Vince McMahon's in tears. Austin, Vince McMahon hug, beer, and then Austin stuns McMahon, and then the show goes off.
I could see the jackhammer attempt. Austin falls down, reverses that into a stunner.
Yeah,
That could work.
at least 3 stunners to take out Goldberg.
But I'm glad you mentioned Halloween Havoc, because when we talked about the Attitude Era, one of the things I wanted to bring up was how morbid everything was. If you think about Vince Russo and his twist on all the pay-per-views, everything is fucking masochistic and morbid. Armageddon, no mercy. Even the King of the Ring, which was benign beforehand with lions and purple flags.
opening the doors for the...
All of a sudden, it's a guillotine. The throne's an electric chair. And I was like, what the fuck is this morbid shit? Being that they were trying to rebrand all their pay-per-views in the past year, I'm like, why didn't they just do Starrcade or Halloween Havoc? Something fun. WCW always had fun-themed pay-per-views.
Yeah.
Dash at the Beach, Great American Dash, Slamboree. I'd like to see a little more of that. But of all the factions that we mentioned, no one's bringing over the Magnificent Seven. Let's see if someone uses the Magnificent Seven next. More rebooking the invasion when we come back.
This is a documentary of Ring of Honor in New York City.
Turn that butter.
Europeans like a good coffee.
We're real rebels on the road here.
Watch. How do we get to the show and how do we train and what do we eat?
I don't give a crap about Barbara Streisand.
I beat John Cena.
He's never eaten an apple before in his life.
You see that?
This is real life.
Well, now I have to go get a cardiac MRI. Hey! I want to go on the road.
Chronic and APA, you think that would be the natural feud because they kind of made APA the ripoff. They made Chronic the ripoff APA in WCW. We're gonna, what the hell did they call them? Guns for Hire?
No.
Like Guns for Hire or something? They called them the Guns for Hire or something. Like we do favors for it, but they never really ended up doing that. I guess that match at Unforgiven 2000 was such a disaster against Undertaker Kane. They were like, fuck it, we don't even care. Welcome back to the Wrestling Roundtable. Join us on WrestlingRoundtable.com. Sign up for our message board and get all the links to all our social networking sites, along with news, columns, bios, and the store. Thanks to Teresa for modeling the Wrestling Roundtable t-shirt, as well as Pro Wrestling Respect DVDs available at WrestlingRoundtable.com. Share, rate, comment, and subscribe wherever you are. So, joining the panel once again, Rodney LeConte, Jay Leto, rebooking the invasion, Jay Leto.
Start on the final Nitro. The card goes as planned. Vince comes out, cuts a promo during Ric Flair and Sting's embrace at the end of the show. Vince cuts off Flair and Sting. Flair is pissed off, grabs a microphone. How dare you cut me off on this special moment? The history, the lineage of WCW, NWA. Vince says, I own you. I own WCW. I'll fire you. Flair goes batshit crazy. I'll
Fire me.
I'm already fired. Yeah. Sting takes the mic, says, I will never work for you, Vince McMahon. I'm here for the good of the business. During this time period, the whole entire WCW locker room comes out, floods the ring. Back him up. Flair says, Vince, you want a war? You got a war. WrestleMania, I'm going to be there, contract or not, we're all going to be in the house. Shane McMahon comes down at Raw. Okay, he says, all right, Dad, you want to have a match? It's going to be, if I win, I get to sign the contract for WCW and I own it. If you win, I'm out of here. I'm done. You don't have to deal with me anymore. Vince agrees, okay? WrestleMania X7 goes as planned.
17, please.
WrestleMania 17 goes as planned. Shane vs. Vince happens. Foley takes a referee bump. He's out. Vince is about to kill Shane. Flair comes out. Beats the shit out of Vince in the middle of the ring. Linda McMahon comes in. She gets out of her coma that she was in at WrestleMania 17. She counts to 3 for Shane to beat Vince. Shane signs the contract right down the ring. Bloody mess. Great. Austin and Rock is a clean match. Austin wins the belt and 2 embrace at the end in a respect thing. Last time they're going to wrestle. Our road to King of the Ring. Okay. Shane and Flair control WCW now. They're pretty much partners. Although it's not really understood that Flair has any money involved in it, but they're partners. They're running WCW right now. Linda says, okay, WCW is going to be a part of the WWF. There's going to be no physicality between the two yet. At King of the Ring, there's going to be an 8-man tournament for WCW, for WWF. They're going to fight each other, which is going to lead to Chris Jericho becoming the King of the Ring over Booker T. However, WCW matches do happen on Raw and SmackDown. They're fighting over their own belts. They're fighting each other. Sting defeats Booker T off the bat to become the WCW champion. Big celebration happens.
Off the bat. I get it.
Yeah, no pun intended. Well, actually, yeah, pun intended. Undertaker and Triple H's feud continues to culminate at King of the Ring where they have a Hell in a Cell match. During this, Undertaker wants Sting. He doesn't care about the physicality rule. He wants to fight Sting. Sting shows up in the rafters, stalking out the Undertaker. During the King of the Ring match, Sting drops down onto the cell, distracting the Undertaker. Triple H beats him, ends the feud. Benoit, he who we do not speak of, turns on WWF, becoming the only WWF contracted wrestler to be on WCW's team. He goes after Austin for the belt. They have 3-match feud. Austin beats them. He's winning at King of the Ring to defeat Chris Benoit once and for all. Invasion happens. After Invasion, where WCW and WWF fight each other, The Rock and Goldberg come in on Raw. They're the 2 biggest free agents in the industry. Rock signs with WWF, Goldberg signs with WCW. It's signed through #1 contendership matches that The Rock is going to take on Sting for the WCW title at SummerSlam. Goldberg is going to take on Austin for the WWF title at SummerSlam. All right, so
I just crisscrossed right there.
Yes, crisscrossed it. #1 contender matches, politics happen, whatever. Booker T and Triple H start a blood feud. They're kicking each other's ass all over the place. Benoit and Flair turn on Shane McMahon, and now they're trying to control. So you're talking WCW's not a heel faction. They have heels and faces. Goldberg beats Austin for the WWF belt. He has it all year into WrestleMania next year. The Rock beats Sting for the WCW belt because Undertaker causes some theatrical attraction to distract Sting.
Like the lights going out.
Something crazy like that. Thunder, lightning, whatever it was. This heads into Survivor Series where we have the first ever WWF War Games match between the 2 factions. 4-on-4. It's Austin, Vince McMahon, The Undertaker, and Kurt Angle against Ric Flair, Chris Benoit, Sting, and The Big Show. On this same card, The Rock and Goldberg are fighting each other, not in a unification match, but champion versus champion for the first time. Vince McMahon wins, pins Ric Flair. Vince McMahon wins the War Games. He pins.
Big Show? This is the Big Show?
This is where Vince McMahon's ego comes into play. Sting and Undertaker have face-to-face in the War Games match. Stare down happens. Flair low blows the Undertaker. No physicality. Sting goes nuts and beats the shit out of Ric Flair because he's still a face. Vince McMahon ends up winning. We head into WrestleMania where we got Goldberg versus Austin. Austin beats Goldberg for the belt. Undertaker versus Sting for the first time. Undertaker beats Sting. And The Rock goes up against Chris Jericho for the WCW title. Those are the 3 main matches of WrestleMania going into that year.
Very good, very good. So McMahon has his segments, whatever. I would put a lot more Nitro clips to close and open each segment. and that would,
Like a
give the
best
main
of
event.
celebration type thing?
Exactly. Show highlights and stuff instead of just like the one montage.
Like
they did.
Chucky and Rick Steiner. Right up there with Goldberg beating Hogan for the belt, right?
Yep. Ric Flair and Sting, they have the match. At the end, Flair grabs the mic and says, "You might have bought a company, but you'll never buy our pride. We're going to go out on our own terms, whatever," to skip the whole Shane McMahon thing. Alright? So WWF continues business as usual. Invasion will still be called Fully Loaded at this point. The Raw before, that's Austin Triple H for the title. So Flair comes in, hits him with the chair, hits Austin with the chair, and then him and Triple H have a stare down. DDP comes in the ring, Diamond Cutter's Triple H. So then on the pay-per-view, DDP and Flair come in, tag everyone in the main event. They put up a little fight. Let's go out, it's Sting. So then it leads to SummerSlam, where it ends up being Sting, Flair, and DDP defeating Triple H, Taker, and Austin. Next week in Raw, everyone's pissed off, and everyone calls out someone from WCW. Everyone on Raw is calling out people from WCW. The only one who's answered is Kurt Angle, and Big Papa Pump comes down the ring. Refs try to block him, he throws all the refs out of the way, and police actually start getting to the ring. So they never actually have any physical confrontation, but it's a holy shit debut for Big Papa Pump. Flair, Sting, DDP, Booker T. So what I would do basically is establishing the big stars first, week by week, people are coming on. The way I debut the mid-carders, the same way almost that Nexus debut, because that only makes sense. I'd have all of them, O'Hara, Palumbo, Storm, Mike Austin.
The Thrillers.
Exactly.
Right.
Kidman, come in, beat the shit out of whoever's wrestling. And then I would end with Jeff Jarrett and the guitar.
Really?
Really?
That's a huge concession
Yes,
for you.
I know, it's hard.
It's for the better of the company.
It's for the better, exactly. And the last pay-per-view of the year, that's when the NWO shows up. Let them come trash everything. They're still siding with WCW. Royal Rumble, Goldberg debuts.
In the Rumble match?
He interferes in the Rumble and
Okay.
spears Austin, costing Austin the championship or whatever. The Hogan Rock segment will go down as is. This leads to Hogan Rock, Austin Goldberg, WWF guys, pretty much beating the majority of WCW guys, not in all matches. Pretty much how WrestleMania 18 kind of was.
Right.
Ending with WWF being on top.
Well, we're running out of time, and I was going to give some of my ideas, but I think what we'll do is like the what should WCW have done after Starrcade. I think we'll put a whole section on our website just for rebooking the invasion, because obviously we all have detailed plans, so let's flesh it out. I will be putting everything I wrote out leading up to what would have been a end-all, be-all, up-for-grabs War Games at WrestleMania 18, but we'll get some more details on WrestlingRoundtable.com. Join us next month. We'll be talking about the best and worst retirements in pro wrestling. So for the panel of Will Brooks, Orlando O'Neill, Jay Oleto, Rodney LeCompte, Alex Payne, Brett Simonello, Midge, Will Vafides, I'm the host, Eric Santamaria. Thank you and join us on WrestlingRoundtable.com.